Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Investor Financing Podcast. I'm going to warn you, I got my back tooth pulled out yesterday, and that was the first time I've been in a dentist in a long time. And I know we should go to the dentist, and I paid for it yesterday, getting this pulled out. And he tried to get a root that was left over from a last time they pulled the wisdom tooth. So anyways, I'm just letting you know if I sound a little different, it's because I have my tooth pulled and I didn't even know they go in and they what's it called when they put tighten it with the rope. I can't even think of it. It's got no. Well, they extracted it, but I can't even think of it. They what's it when you have a cut and they take I can't even think, and they tie it. I didn't know they did that with the rope, and then I have to get the stitches. They stitched it. Sorry, that was the stupidest thing. I'm on drugs too right now. I must admit it. I just got painkillers now. No, I got some moxicillin and some other thing. I don't know if I'm going to take the painkillers though, because I like to feel pain. Anyways, today we have an exciting show. We have Matt Cavanaugh here from the Freedom Chasers podcast, and it's going to be exciting because he was telling me before we went live that he sells real estate virtually as well as invest virtually. So we want to dive into that, but Matt's got an interesting background. Was a youth pastor, teacher. He taught elementary school,
high school math. Mm-hmm.
High school math. Oh my God, you're a mathematician. So
yes, sir.
You're the complete opposite of me. I didn't open a book ever. Tried to go to college and never went to college. And but anyways, it's good that we have a mathematician here. So and you reside in Turlock, California.
Mm-hmm.
And were you born there in Turlock?
I was born within like 40 minutes of there. I was born in Ripon, like a town much smaller than even Turlock.
Isn't that where David Green was born? No, David Green he's like Modesto or something. I can't remember.
I don't know where he was born. I think he lives Bay Area-ish.
Well, he does now, but he was like a Central
Valley kind of guy.
Yeah.
Well, if he was in Modesto, he was I lived till I was 10 in Modesto, and then I moved to Ripon, and I was there through high school. So we would have been in the same area.
Because Tim Rode was from Modesto,
Manteca.
Manteca. He was like a big real estate agent back in the day.
Huge.
Yeah, he sold a lot of houses.
Yep.
So anyway, and you're in your 30s?
35.
35. Okay, yeah. Good guess. All right. So I got 10 years on you. Can you believe that? I look pretty young, I have to say.
Right.
45.
You look good. Or I look 45, one or two.
The real estate stress. But
right.
Anyway, so you were a teacher, you were unfulfilled. 2013, you got
I'll issue a slight correction there. I was actually
fulfilled, but
highly
you weren't making
fulfilled.
any money.
Correct. Yeah, I was my bank accounts were not fulfilled.
Okay.
And so we actually had to decide on Friday nights whether we go out for pizza or run our air conditioning. And so I just decided that wasn't the life I wanted anymore. But as far as fulfillment, like I love the kids. I love teaching. So
I shouldn't have said that. I was making a sign. I knew what you meant by bank accounts not being fulfilled.
Totally. Yep.
And my wife and her whole family they're from Mexico. My wife lives here now with me, but they're all school teachers but anyways, school teachers are the most underpaid and
totally.
and like it just blows my mind that we can't like get it. Like, what if we invested in our teachers and they brought it right, and then we could have such higher level talent teaching our children.
Totally.
But anyway, they don't get it, and that's why good people like yourself go, hey, there's a better way. And how did this real estate thing come about from teaching?
Yeah. So I left from teaching and I went into B2B sales, and the B2B sales was unbelievable because the skills that I built in teaching were how to communicate clearly, how to deliver lesson plans, how to help people understand things, which was very helpful going into sales. I had no sales skills. I had no sales mentality. So I was a very just give it all away mentality. And so when I was leaving teaching, my wife was nervous. We were going to go bankrupt and nervous that I was going into sales because she's like, you're not this slimy salesperson. You're this noble teacher, so it's not going to work. And I said, well, let's see what happens. And then you find out that it's not the sliminess that makes salespeople good. It's the fact that they can talk to people and so on and so forth. So that process for 3.5 years, I sold B2B. It was the greatest thing ever. Like I knocked on doors, I made phone calls, and it wasn't great in the sense that it wasn't hard. It was great in the sense that I viewed it as an opportunity to build skill. And door knocking and phone bottling to businesses can be tough because you got to get through the gatekeepers, you got to get to the decision makers. They're intelligent, they're sophisticated. We sold very, very expensive products, and so all of that allowed me to grow a skill. And then I would have stayed there probably forever. Income was great. I was loving it. Coming from a $36,000 a year teaching job, going to like $120,000, like I just felt like I was loaded. And so there was no money problems there. So the biggest reason I ended up leaving that job was just because was inventing things for the company and they weren't responding well to it. And they ended up taking software that I invented for the company and paying another company $2 million to build out that same software so that it would be built differently, so we got into a few philosophical disagreements. And so that's when I decided to try my luck at real estate. And so otherwise I would have been in that business my entire life.
Wow, interesting. Well, I like how you look at it as like a stepping stone, right? Like, I think more of us need to do that. Like, hey, we do things in life that we might not, like it might not be our fulfillment, but we look at everything and we get value out of these things that we do, these classes we take. I wasn't a good student, like I told you, but I tell you what, I've taken more classes than anybody I know over the last 20 years, right? Because I found something I was interested in, entrepreneurship, real estate investing. And so to this day, my business coach actually says, man, you got to stop taking classes because I'm like, I just love going and learning. It's so funny. But it's true. So you got into traditional real estate, right? Mm-hmm. Sales, and you started doing well.
Yeah. Right out the gate. So because I had done B2B sales, we had to wait through people's contract periods. Then I found out. So when I was analyzing, should I go into real estate or stocks? Because I wanted to be able to be in a business where I could invest in the field I was working in. So stocks and real estate were my two options. And so as a result of that, then I was, looking for different ways to generate business. And when I found out with expireds that you could literally call a list of people that were ready to do business more or less, all you had to do was get through their objections, I was sold. Because in the B2B business, it was 18-month sales cycles. You had to wait out their contracts and then you could get them. This was like, you got a list every day of people you can go get. So I started dialing on the phones, and within 8 weeks, we had 8 in escrow. And I was like, let's do this. So then I left my job.
Cool. And then let's kind of fast forward to today. You still have your traditional real estate broker team.
Yep.
And you still sell a good amount of real estate.
Yeah. You could argue that. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 12 months. So before, like, we have a lot of listings right now, but nothing's really moving that fast. So we'll see what happens in the next 24. But up until now, yes, we've been.
Well, yeah. I mean, now it's going to be this is kind of when you need a little bit of powder in your bank account, because a lot of these people in real estate. I got started in the lending business, and I was also sold homes, and I'm a California broker as well. But I remember during 2000, like the end of 2007, the lending business started freezing, and that's how I was making my money. And I owned all this real estate. I was in my 20s, and we weren't ready for what was coming. I mean, we're definitely not going to see that. That was a pretty huge downturn. But we are seeing a lot of people are playing it off. But here in Las Vegas, I mean, our median price is down $65,000 in the last 4 months. So I mean, we're going to see a 20% decline in some of these markets.
Yep.
Not all markets, but anyway. So you're seeing it firsthand as a listing agent that, like, hey, there's noticeable when we used to do an open house, we didn't even do open houses because we didn't need to. The houses would sell in a day.
Yep.
And
totally.
So, but you were talking about this whole selling real estate in other locations virtually. Yep. And I'm really curious about that because I want to do that. I want to buy real estate virtually. Actually, I do buy, but I'm curious about this business model. And I think a lot of people out there that are going to watch this or listen to this in the future.
Yeah. So I'm a big, I like to focus on skills. And so I would say strategy is one of my higher skill sets. And if nothing else, like, I love thinking about strategy more than a lot of things. And so when it comes down to it, I generally will take the less conventional path, even if it's not the better path, just because I like doing things differently. And so there's so many times where someone will present, here's the conventional way to do something. And I'm like, to heck with that. Like, I'm just going to come up with some other idea. And sometimes I really regret it, but in this case, I haven't. So because I was pursuing expireds and for sell by owners, it was there's only so many of those in a market. And so you have two choices. You add lead sources and stay in a tighter, geography, or you expand geography. And so I always felt like, well, I've developed the skill and how to talk to these particular type of people with this particular type of problem. So it would make more sense for me to expand geography and then hire the right connections or partners that know the area than it would be to learn a new lead source. And so that's the way we went. And it ended up like we loved it. So we were training sales reps on how to do phone sales. And several of them said, hey, can we just work for you, a call for you? So we added them in. One happened to live in New Mexico and now lives in Colorado. And so we were able to expand to a bunch of different markets. And so we made up our volume that way. And so it was just kind of a combination of the strategy of sticking with the lead source over a geography combined with then going and finding some people that could help us out.
So you have a very systematic approach and your bread and butter is for sale by, expired listings.
Yeah. So that's where I got my start. We were a little bit more for sale by owner heavy now because the callers that I have do better with for sale by owners. Expireds, as you probably know, if you've called them, they require a certain amount of intensity out the gate. And I mean, these people are coming at you with a high level of negativity, a lot of times with a number of swear words. For sale by owners are much, much more docile. So most of our sales reps are a little bit more, and they enjoy the slower nature of a for sale by owner call. But for me, I like that intensity that happens. And so we do way more for sale by owner now than when I started. I was a lot heavier on expireds.
Are you with a national real estate brand or your own brand or a franchise or?
Each area is a little bit different. We're generally with HomeSmart where we can be, but when it's not with HomeSmart, it's with a local brand, a boutique.
Got it. And so is this the model you're gonna, I mean, obviously things are changing right now. I guess first of all, how are you pivoting? Anybody out there that's in real estate right now? And are you using, also the second question is, are you using these strategies to acquire real estate as well as an investor?
Totally. So I'm glad you segued into that because essentially that segue is also the segue I'm doing in businesses. So I'm placing less and less attention on the retail side, on being an agent, and more on the investing side. So we've sold as a team, we've probably sold 1,000 houses in the last 7 years, give or take. It could be off by a bit, but just kind of as a general frame. And I say that only to say that the amount of passive income that I built off of those 1,000 is essentially zero, right? I stacked some amounts of money in our bank account, which has been great. But my buddy turned me on to investing in 2018. He kept hitting me up about it. And within 5 single transaction purchases, I went from zero to 11,300 a month in rental income. And it was like, wait a second here. If you compare 1,000 agent transactions to 5 purchases on investment purchases, one's generated me, multiple 6 figures in savings, but the other one's generated me 6 figures for life. It's not comparable. It's like maybe 100x better, to invest than it is to be an agent. I would say easily 10 times better. And so this is what's transpired within 2018 to 2021. This is not even like me building a team, scaling that. This is me just buying opportunities that have come my way as a result of what we do. And so just kind of waking up to that realization, it goes, okay, we need to have a shift in focus. We don't want to give up the retail business because we've already built it to run fairly easily and almost automated. But at the same point, our attention is segueing over to investing.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think you're smart. You got to keep the business you already built because that's gonna be your down payments, and that's gonna pay your bills and then your cash flow. So these 5 transactions you've done as far as what the investor had on, what did those look like? Were they like single families, duplexes, fourplexes?
Yeah. So in Interlock, where I live, there was a seller that came to me and he wanted to list the property for too much. And I told him, hey, you're 100,000 overpriced. He didn't care. He wanted to list it overpriced. So we're on the market for a few months. It's not selling. I continue every week saying, hey, you got to be not at 450, you got to be at 350 because that's where market value is. And then he calls me up months later and says, hey, something happened. Basically, he had gotten cleaned out of all of his money. He gotten scammed. And he goes, I need $50,000 by Monday. And I'm like, and this was on a Wednesday. And I'm like, that's not how this works. Like, it takes time. And And he's like, Matt, like do whatever it takes to get me $50,000 on Monday. So I call all my investor clients. They're like, there's no way I'm giving $50,000 in 5 days. So I told him, I was like, well, I know the condition of this property. I'll buy it as an investor at 250. So if you sell it to me at 250, I'll give you $50,000 cash, early release down payment deposit. So he was happy to accept it. And so that was deal number one. It was a triplex. Deal number two was a gal who was in pre-foreclosure. We tried to call the bank and get them to work with her. They wouldn't. And she didn't want to file bankruptcy or do any of those things to delay the foreclosure. So I said, I'll put it on the market, but there's just not enough time to get it in a contract and close it, or I can offer you cash. I walked through what she would get in each scenario. So she took the cash offer. So that was two deals I would have just given to an investor or done something different with before that I bought. So we held on to those properties for, I think it was about 2 years, year or two. So we sold the first triplex for a profit of $190,000 and the second for profit of about $135,000, something like that. And so we then 1031 exchanged those two properties to buy 3 houses all at once in the outskirts of Chicago for $440,000. So between the 100 to 110K of down payments we had made on the first two, plus the $330,000 of profit, it came to exactly $440,000, which was the amount we bought 3 houses for in Chicago. Those houses rent out for $11,300 a month collectively. And so it went from zero to, and they appraised for $795. So we went from zero to $795,000 of equity on $100,000 to $110,000 out of my pocket in the original down payments and $11,300 a month in rents, all in a matter of, I view it internally like it's 3 transactions because I bought 3 at once. But I mean, if you look at it, it's 5 houses. And so that's how it all worked out.
That's pretty awesome. Why Chicago? Did you have like an agent there?
Connections. Yeah. So basically this is where like there could be a lot of crossover. And so if you build a particular skill like sales or networking or marketing, then you can leverage that skill to benefit others and still be benefited. So I had a guy, because I was known as a phone salesperson, said, hey, will you help me convert these deals? Like, will you teach me how? And I said, well, right now I'm a little busy, but instead of teaching you how, I'll just do it for you and we can work out splits. So he sent me these leads. And what I did is I was going to convert them into listings for him, but I didn't need to because the guy just wanted cash offers. So I went back to him and said, hey, he just wants cash offers. Can I make them? And can I just pay you an agent commission on it? And he was happy. And so that's how we made those. So every deal for the most part I bought has just been something that has come across my desk as a part of my other activities.
And you learned how to put your investor hat on as opposed
Correct.
to the, right.
That's it. That's really all it was. I mean, it was like, hey, instead of just giving this investment to an investor, just take it. That's all my friend was trying to get me to do. He's like, hey, even if you don't plan to start an investment business that has its own scale and systems and teams, just simply take advantage of the opportunities that you have come across your desk.
So this last couple of years with this all, and you just like rapidly growing your, a substantial nest egg, right? Like, bam, it happened. So like going forward now with the transition in the market, with listing sittings where, your transactional income's down. I mean, where are you shifting? How are you going to focus on this business more? I'm interested in the game plan here.
Yeah. Okay. So there's two dynamics at work. So we started our podcast right before this thing is happening, this recession or whatever we're going to call it. And so one of the things I had told myself from a young age is, and just like I knew internally about me, it's like I want to be about service and I want to be about helping people more than I want to make money. I love business. And so I had to define for myself, like at what point in the money-making process does my focus shift from making money to like more like where I'm not as concerned about it. And so for me, I always set like the 10 to 15,000 as the number. And if I knew if it was based on rents will increase with appreciation and inflation and those types of things. So if I could live on $15,000 a month today, I could live on whatever the rents would grow to in the future. So it's not like you have to worry, is it enough? And so with those purchases, we hit a place where it's like, we could live on these rents. And so as a result, a lot of my focus, that's why we started the podcast, is to be able to help people and to learn and to grow and to step into things that are even funner for me. So having conversations like this, I could do this all day long. And so that was a thing. It was like partially rewarding myself for hitting a certain level, but it was also like being able to step back into a teacher role without having to have the administrators or the classroom elements. It's just like, hey, whoever, that's one thing I didn't like about teaching is kids had to be there. So I like the fact that it made me have to be really good, because I had to not only teach the material, but I had to teach it in a way that would make kids want to be there that didn't want to be there. But the thing I like more about podcasting and education is only people that want to show up and listen. And so that's what I love about this. So that's where my focus is. And so as a result, the investments will grow, and they already have. Like, we've put on this weekly investor training. Well, as a result, we teach people how to get investments. Now, when they find deals, maybe they don't have the cash and are scared to go get the cash. So they say, what do you want to do? And like, we've bought deals now and just paid people $5,000 or $10,000 commissions. So now we're the investors that get the deals, from the agents that are too scared to take action. So it's kind of like a dual thing. Like, we get more investments handed to us because we produce content, but we help people. And so.
Yeah. I mean, that's a beautiful thing, actually. And, like, here you're getting the word out to all these real estate agents, right? And like, at the end of the day, 80% of them aren't going to pull the trigger on a deal, and they're going to go, hey, I still want to make money from this. And I know, Beau and Matt like to buy property, right?
Yep. Exactly.
And so that's pretty smart. I like that. I like the attitude you have. You're real, like, it's not about the money with you. It's just about the kind of the journey, right? Like and it was cool how you were able to like hit your goal in your mind as far as just cash flow. And then you did it in like 3 steps, and you did it in like 2 years, right? And like, you probably never thought that would have been like that strategic of a move. But I think people that are listening out there, it's like, that's the power of like the right mindset and believing in yourself, and making like these leaps where you go, okay, let's put the investor hat on. Let's make this deal work. I mean, a lot of people, like, especially right now, all the people that never saw a downturn, I think, like, now the flippers, especially right now, that had it like a bunch of flips, and like especially in like Oakland, I'm seeing a lot in like Oakland, Berkeley, where they were expecting to sell it for like 900 grand, and like now they could sell it for 750. If those people don't have any reserves, they're the ones that are going to be like, those are the ones that are going to be filing the BKs, Yep. Like, and I remember like that, I had the flashbacks of like 2007, 8, 9. Just that feeling, like when you didn't know, right? Like, and that's the beauty of podcasting, that if you get around, like, before, when I was younger, I didn't have any of this like influence, like people, like wise people sharing thoughts and ideas, right? That's what podcasting has done for everybody. Like, and it's like, it's free. You can go on YouTube, you can go on a Stitcher, iTunes, and all that. So
you're listening to the Investor Financing Podcast. We'll be right back after this break.
Hi, this is Beau, host of the Investor Financing Podcast. I appreciate you checking out our channel. On this podcast, we talk about real estate, investing, financing, business lending, and acquiring and expanding your business. I'm sure you will find some videos here that will help you build your business empire. There's a lot to see. Take your time and make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Thanks again.
So you have a partner named Tim on your podcast, Tim Winfrey. Where's he from? He has kind of an interesting accent.
Yeah, he lives in the outskirts of Chicago. He's the one that helped me find those properties.
Okay.
And so, so basically we met in a mastermind, and then as a result, we communicated, and I coached him for a while. And then when he wanted to do the conversion stuff is when we shifted the properties. So he's built a BPO business that does, because there's a lot of BPOs in Chicago area. So he does like 5,000 BPOs a year. So that's where his income comes in. So in the process of talking about these properties, we both had a desire to be, educating in content, and we love discussion. And so that's how the podcast came to be, is we just kept talking about it, and we're like, well, hey, let's just do it and we'll see if we like it. So.
Yeah. And that's pretty cool. Like, his experience is really good too. Cause like, especially if you're buying real estate in that market, that you're getting good comps from a guy like that, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. He prices out 5,000 homes a year. It's like, he's like, Matt, this is worth 197, not 194. Like, and so that partnership's been incredible from that standpoint. Is when I came to him and said, hey, I got the ability to lock these up at 440. He's like whatever it takes to do that. So.
Yeah. That's interesting, that the skill sets you had early on, like when you got into eight real estate deals in like the first 8 days in escrow or something crazy like that. Mm-hmm. 8 weeks. Sorry, the 8 days would be too
That'd
amazing.
be awesome. I think I could hit it now if I was really getting after it. Well, not escrow, but maybe listed. Yeah.
Listen, yeah.
Yeah. Now
yeah,
it might take 8 months to get them into escrow. So,
I mean, the average real estate agent sells like 2 houses a year. So, we're going to see a lot of people get out of the business right now. It's real estate agents. Like during the good times, everybody gets in it. Everybody's making money. Everybody spends, everybody's buying the new Benzes and all that stuff. It's kind of funny because as you get older and you stay in this business, you see the cycles now. You see more of the cycles. So,
totally.
So how often do you guys do your podcast?
So we record on Fridays. We record 5 to 7 episodes a week. There's a number, like sometimes people have to reschedule. So generally like episodes that are completed and air maybe 3 to 5 a week. So we're releasing 3 a week right now. We're going to grow our content team a little bit so we can go to a 5 a week release schedule. And then from there, we'll start shooting a lot more content on top of that. So this last 6 months has just been figuring out how do we book this many people? How do we run pre-calls and do the show and get the stuff out? So now that that's becoming a little bit more second nature, we're setting to try and double or triple the amount of content we produce.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that do a lot of preparing, like Tim Ferriss. I was like, man, I never prepare, but those guys like study for like 8 hours. Somebody was like, for like 5 hours, they'll research people, which is great. I just feel like that's a lot. Like what I do is I YouTube stalk people.
Yep.
I listen to a few episodes, just a little bit there and there. And I feel like I can have the conversation, but I agree. But I do a lot of solo episodes too. So I'll like come up with like different talking points. Now you guys are on YouTube as well. Are you doing a YouTube show or just strictly audio?
Yeah, it's video as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because like, it's interesting. A podcast and by its nature is audio. And so I've been told by many people don't do the video because it's worthless. Like you spend all this money in editing. It's not going to get that many views. So, but I'm not conventional. So part of me is like, well, how do I know these people just aren't doing it right? And the other thing too is like, there's other motivations for us to do it video as well. So we're going to give it a college try on the video side.
Dude, video is like the biggest thing since anything. Video is so, I don't know why people wouldn't do every show as a video show. No, like, because you're also going to take little clips of these videos and make reels, right? Like It's like just imagine like a car rim, right? With all the spokes on it. That's what video is to me. And then like the audio is second to me. Because what I do too, might be a little bit different, which is that like, I'll put the titles of the video that will be found in search. So people that don't know Beau or Investor Financing Podcast will find it. So I think video is good. You got to do about 100 episodes before you get any traction. So it's like anything. It's like grit. You got to have grit. What are you doing in the real estate business right now? Like as far as just like, are you coaching? Do you coach people regularly too, like newer agents that want to grow?
Yeah.
Do you have a mastermind or?
Yeah. So we have a Thursday morning mastermind for investors. We just launched it about 3 months ago. And so every Thursday morning we come on, we have a topic prepared. So we'll talk for 20 or 30 minutes on like how-tos. So that way every 3 months we're covering the entire gamut of how to find deals, how to finance them, how to do creative structuring so you don't need financing, how like the whole process.
Are these, sorry to cut you off, are these mostly investor agents?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll take anybody that wants to invest, but our primary focus is an agent so that there's already a certain level of understanding of the process. So that way we're not teaching like some of the, like ideally someone already knows generally how to comp properties in their market. They have access to the MLS tools. So all they're needing is the mindset and maybe some of the sales and marketing processes. That's our ideal avatar. Not that we can't help somebody go from 0 to 60, but it's just so nice to have somebody that's got the basics. We add some layers and some strategies, and then they're immediately buying properties. But like I take one of my clients and so he started working with me individually. That guy has now $2,000 a month net passive income in the last 3 months. He had done nothing as far as real estate goes. So within like we'll say a year to 2 years, he will be completely financially free. And so like that to me is where I get pretty excited.
Yeah.
to see people like bus drivers and mechanics and, the people of the world that have placed all these labels on themselves, like be able to shed those labels. And, that brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, I just had an interview with a friend of mine that sells real estate in like the Oakland market, Oakland, Berkeley. Her name's Crystal, and like she invests too. And I'm like, if you're getting into real estate just to sell houses, that's foolish. That's like the worst thing you can ever do. I mean, yes, you can make a lot of money. The top agents make a lot of money. Most people don't, but really my idea was like, I want to own real estate, right? Because like you want to own enough real estate, and the funny thing is people talk about how many doors you own. And I go, you know what? It's not about how many doors you own. And who cares if you own if you own like 0.5% of 1,000 doors. It's really like, what's your net cash flow each month? That's like, like I like the 100% rule. Like, what does it cost you to live? With your mortgage, your fund money, it's $8-9 grand a month. Well, we're going to get that first, right? We're going to get that net passive income so make you 100%er, as they talk in GoBundance and places like that. Like then you become a 200%er. Like that's so systematic. And I'm glad you guys are like, pushing agents to get that mindset, because the worst thing in the world is like you see like the 7-year-old lady realtor, and she's been selling real estate, and it could be guy or girl, whoever. They have no money, right? They're always as good as their last transaction. It's like, how could you spend your whole life and not have any savings? Because nobody's ever taught them, and they didn't figure it out. Like people just are scared. They're like, well, I can't do that. I can't really buy stuff 100% financing. I can't get the seller, I can't buy something subject to, I can't do a lease option. So I'm glad you're doing this. I have to get you. We have a real estate investor club that I started called Thrive REIA. You'll have to come present for us. That would be awesome, man. Love to. I'm going to
be there. I'm going to be in Vegas in March for my cousin's wedding. So if we can, like, is it live or is it?
No, I do my events because I did them in the Bay Area or in the Bay Area.
Oh, sweet.
We also
that's even
do
easier.
Virtual. We do an event called REI Bar Camp.
Yeah.
Which is like, we have breakout sessions. You'll love it. But anyways, love for you to participate. Yeah. And then when you come to Vegas, are you going to Tahoe in end of January?
I'm not. I'm going to be in Mexico City.
Okay. ¿Hablo español?
Poquito. Yeah. So we have some friends of ours that we go to church with that she grew up she was born and raised in Mexico City. So they go every year, and they said, hey, like, you guys like to travel. Do you want to come with us and have an authentic experience? And, for my wife and I, the second she said the word authentic, we were in. So we're heading out there in January.
Did I tell you about my authentic experience in Mexico?
No, tell me.
That's where I met my wife.
No way. All right.
I was, this is flashback 4 years. I was 4.5 years ago. I was like, tell my buddy Johnny I work with, I'm like, hey, I want to go to Mexico and go do a party thing. He's like, come with us. He got married. His second wife was from Mexico, and originally, and they said, no, you got to come to my hometown. His wife's name was Annie. She died actually, but anyway, Annie was a wonderful soul. And so I went with them to this small city in Jalisco, the state of Jalisco. And the week we went, they have a carnival festival where it's rodeo, and like they actually like go and like it's crazy. I mean, I was the only non-Mexican person in the whole city. And then everybody's drinking tequila, and I back then I could drink a lot. So anyways, I got introduced to my wife. It was my friend's wife's younger sister's best friend, and I met her there. She lived there in Jalisco, the state of Jalisco, and we started a relationship. But when I met her, the funny thing was she didn't speak English, and I didn't speak Spanish. And first year of our relationship, we're using Google Translate. Well, flash forward today, in a little less than a week, or 8 days, I'll be married for 3 years. Now she's fluent in English.
Yeah.
We don't get along as well because now she understands everything I say. But anyway, that's how my authentic experience. But I love going to Mexico. It's an amazing place, great food, and the people are amazing. So anyways, this is going to be an amazing trip. Mexico City, I heard, is a little bit more rough because it's more of a city.
Yep.
So, but it's a good place though.
Yeah, we're super stoked.
So what do you do when you're not working? What are your hobbies and passions?
Yeah. So, I mean, spending time with my kids, I have 4 of them. So we have 2 older, 2 younger. So 13, 10, 3, and 1. And so it's, yeah, the pre-business childbirthing and then the post-business success childbirthing, I guess you could say. And so right now I get up super early. So I get up at 4 to 5 a.m., sometimes 6, but usually 4 to 5. I'll work till 12, then conduct meetings from 12 to 4, do a workout. And then I go home and then it's all about the family. So it's playing games with the kids. It's, trying to teach them, it's like you have such limited time. So it's what kind of values can we instill? And so it's, 5-6 days a week. It's all about family.
Good. What about books or podcasts that you actually like?
All the time. Yeah. So during the workday, like if I'm thinking about shooting content or whatever, it's consuming and then putting out there. So now it's a little bit different because now we interview 5 to 7 net worth millionaires every single Friday. And so it's, I get spoiled, and I would highly recommend if someone wants to start a podcast, even if they have zero desires for it to go anywhere, just do it for the sake that you get to interview successful people. And so it's kind of breaking down the stuff that I'm learning from our guests. But then there's also, I watch a lot of YouTube and I'll consume some podcasts as well. So I like the All In podcast. And, they have a lot of more of the, trendy type of stuff. And it's coming from guys who are really successful. So I'll listen to some of their episodes. But then most of what I'm doing is either listening to the interviews we've conducted to think, what can I implement or what can I get better? Or I'm listening to what will be future episodes. Like you had mentioned, if you have a guest on, you listen to a couple of their episodes for prep. That's what I love doing too. And just thinking about not only what are they saying, so what can I add to my life, but also what questions are not being asked that I think would add some fun, interesting sections to the show.
Yeah, that's good. I've been listening to this marketing podcast, and what I like about what they do is after they interview a guest, the next episode is a recap, and it's not, and that's like they do so they might interview the guest for 30 or 40 minutes and then recap of like them talking, just bullet points of why they like the guest and what the guest, what they got out of that show, which I think should be done more. Just bullet pointing those things. Yeah. So
we're coming to the same conclusion. So like there's the hook, which we're getting better at. And then the second thing is the analysis. The tough part about our schedule, the way we've structured it, which is more just, it shows we should probably have a better structure, is we try and do everything in one day. So it's been hard for us tempo wise to get 5 to 7 recap shot, but that's what we're trying to do, is either do less shows or, find a way to get them all in there.
Yeah, no, that's good. Well, everybody, you can go to the Freedom Chasers podcast on Stitcher, iTunes, all the big platforms, on YouTube. This has been a great episode. I'm going to have you on more. I'm a little loopy today, so I'm in a little bit rare form because I didn't think this was going to hurt as bad, but it did. But appreciate you coming in and sharing some knowledge with us. I loved your story and just like the transition you made and the mindset shift, right, into just like zero passive to $11,433, whatever that number was, close to it. But anyways,
yep.
And that was like 2.5 years, right?
Yeah, thereabouts. I mean, I think August of 2018 we bought the first one, and then we closed in May of 2020, I think. So like 2 years. Yeah. From 0 to 11,000.
Yep. In 2 years. That's great. That's like, people listening, I hope that motivated you. I know it motivated me. It's out there for the taking. And when there's fear in the streets, now's the time to be making creative offers and all that stuff. So where can people find your group Thursday calls at? Like, can they find info about that on your website or?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what I'll do is I'll send the links. You can put it in the show notes, but we have a link tree. So if you go to linktree/Freedom Chasers podcast, then it has our free Facebook group. It has, ways that you can get a hold of us. And then we can get you set up.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show. I try to bring on a diverse set of guests talking about a lot of different things, mostly real estate investing and entrepreneurship and mindset. This was no exception. I think there was a lot of nuggets to be pulled out. So Thank you so much for your time, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey guys, Beau Eckstein here. If you enjoyed what you saw, please subscribe to this channel. We talk all things financing. I've been in the lending industry for over 20 years, and I'm happy to answer your questions and provide great content.